Hello everyone, how are you doing? I'm feeling pumped for life despite a rather difficult couple of months, and quite frankly, it's because of this anime. I watched about 3/4 of Eureka 7 when I was a teenager, and despite never finishing it, it always stuck with me, and rewatching it as an adult reminded me exactly why. For me, it's about finding yourself and the best way to live, coping with the reality of the world and your place in it, adapting and changing and growing and doing the best that you can with what you are given.
Quitting right now is certainly an option, and it may also be the best decision. But my teacher once gave me some very good advice. Don't beg for things, do it yourself, or else you won't get anything.
This mantra is said for the first time in episode 2 and repeats throughout the series. Don't feel sorry for yourself, just do what you need to. Though this is quite an individualistic sentiment, this mantra leads to people with the same goals uniting and working together. It's like, as long as you follow your heart and do your best, you will find the people who feel the same way that you do. Another thing that stood out to me during this rewatch is the pursuit of harmony. Not peace, because life is not peaceful and these characters are not living in a peaceful world, but they are attempting to find balance with each other, within themselves, with the world at large. And of course, this anime is about two intelligent life forms and whether or not they can share the same planet. Can humans and Corallians live in harmony? Renton Thurston is the son of a national hero who saved the world and lives with his grandfather in a small town called Bell Forest. He doesn't have much experience with the world or with people who aren't like him, and by that I just mean people who also live in this small town. He's innocent and naive, and I believe he has trouble seeing beyond himself, which I don't mean as an insult. It's quite typical of someone his age. He's just a teenager. He often doesn't consider what else might be going on in any given situation or what motivations others have. He fails to consider other perspectives because he hasn't been exposed to a lot and because he's young and idealistic. He is also a good person. He's earnest, hardworking, and has good morals. In my opinion, he is an extremely accurate portrayal of a 14-year-old boy from a small town who just doesn't have much experience of the world. He's bored out of his mind and dying for adventure, the kind of adventure that is really more, but he doesn't know that yet. One day, a strange girl with purple eyes drops onto his house and the adventure begins. Eureka is part of the Gecko state, a rebel organization that Renton admires and is led by Holland, a hero to the boy. He doesn't know Eureka's connection to Holland at first and helps her fix her LFO because she's a cute girl. Her LFO, the Mirage or the Type 0, is the first of its kind. In the world of Eureka 7, there are two types of LFO, man-made and those that are mined. The planet is filled with what people call scub coral. The LFOs can be dug from the scub coral, and then scientists add machine exoskeletons and operating systems so that they can use them for battle. A vital component is the compact drive, which allows humans to communicate with the LFOs through the trapper, which are particles in the air that allow people and LFOs to surf in the air. The LFOs are also transformers and turn into vehicles. The scub coral made the LFOs and made Eureka. They are all Corallians. Okay, so now I'm going to give a straight up information dump. Here's a timestamp if you want to skip this part. This anime is old and I don't expect people to remember all the details, so here I go. More than 10,000 years ago, the Corallians gained consciousness or arrived on Earth, they're not sure which, and began to absorb everything. That's the only way they know how to communicate or to understand. And humans did not like this unstoppable force taking over everything and left Earth. Corallians, having absorbed almost everything and chased away the only other intelligent life form, realized what a mistake they had made. I'm not going to get into the whole limit of questions stuff, but basically, They realized that there was too much of them, too much consciousness, and so most of them went into hibernation. Otherwise, they would literally split the universe. And then, 10,000 years after leaving, humans returned. But they didn't know that this was Earth, or rather that information is kept from them, and the scub coral have changed the planet so much that it's not difficult to hide the truth. Captain Dewey Novak, older brother to Holland Novak, is a madman who very effectively takes over the military and the government in order to force the scub coral to wake up by destroying the control cluster, which is like its brain, and keeping them all in hibernation, because he wants to destroy the world. He tells people that he wants to destroy the scub coral and reclaim the planet for humans, but what he really wants is to destroy the world. He is an insane, evil genius. So in the modern day, people are aware of the scub coral, though they don't know what it really is because they don't show life the way that humans show life. And there's a lot of debate as to whether or not they are sentient. There's also a lot of speculation as to why the LFOs are humanoid. I believe it's because their purpose is to facilitate communication with the scub coral and the humans. Later in the series, we see an abandoned scub coral mine filled with dying LFOs. I think they're dying because their whole point is to interact with humans, so if they don't do that, they have no reason to exist. The Nearvash is a two-seater LFO and the first to be found, along with Eureka, a human-shaped corallian. Because the Nearvash has two seats, it must be for Eureka and someone else, a human partner, an opportunity for a human and a corallian to form a true connection and transcend to the promised land. There's also a religion called Vodarak. Religion isn't exactly the right word. Vodarak is a way of thinking of the world and your position in it. The followers of Vodarak recognize the life in the scub coral and interact with it, and they form a whole belief system around it. And because of their belief in the corallians and its sentience, the government has been systematically erasing their existence, labeling them terrorists. About 3 years prior to the start of the series, Holland was the head of a special ops team and responsible for Eureka. One day, while they were on mission destroying a town of the Vodarak, an unusual monk named Master Norb delivers the truth to Holland. Eureka is not human, she is a scub coral, and she is a manifestation of the scub coral's desire to communicate with humans. She's here to learn, and making her a murderer is the wrong move. Trust humans to turn the two aliens into a soldier and a weapon.
There was a girl named Sakuya, a girl that I met at a very young age. Sakuya was not a human being.
She what?
Not a human, but a corallian, just like the girl you brought with you, Eureka.
How do you know about her? Impossible.
Don't be so depressed. I know it's very shocking to you. She's a very cute girl, but she's not human. She was born from the sheer will of the land, to learn about humans. That is why she seeks interaction with humans.
And so Master Norb flipped his world upside down, and he realized that he's been on the wrong side this whole time, that he's killed so many people for bad reasons. So he deserts with Eureka, a weapons expert with a fantastic moustache, and Talho, an information officer he's in a relationship with. They steal a state-of-the-art ship called the Gecko and form the Gecko state to rebel against the government, protect Eureka and the Corallians, and spread the truth to the world. They have a magazine called Rayout to help them do this. Renton reads this magazine and thinks they're a bunch of cool guys living to the beat of their own drum. Holland believes that he will be Eureka's partner in the Nearvash, that it's just a matter of time, and when Renton arrives, it becomes clear that he is Eureka's partner and not Holland, and he does not handle it well.
Besides, we still might have some hope. If her partner comes, then she will be saved.
What? A partner?
Have you ever seen Eureka smile?
No.
Her smile is the sign of change. Search for someone that can make her smile from the bottom of her heart.
My clears! My clears! Now hold on. She's laughing.
I identify with the emotional journey Holland goes through in this series. He did all these really big things with a specific journey and end goal in mind, and then this naive kid comes and takes that from him. Of course, Renton didn't take anything from him, but that's how it feels. And because of that, he lashes out at Renton, treats him badly, blames him for everything that goes wrong, withholds important information from him, and then gets angry when he doesn't know that important information. And yes, Renton does a lot of stupid things, but so does Holland. Although it caused me a lot of frustration, I appreciated his relationship with Talho and the way it progresses over these 50 episodes. I think Holland uses the whole mission with Gecko State and Eureka to put the brakes on his relationship with Talho. Considering that they've been with each other for years and she abandoned her life to become a rebel with him, it isn't even that clear at first that they're together. They obviously care about each other deeply. Talho is definitely the second in command. They sleep together, but Holland insists on carrying all of his burdens on his own, and part of being in a relationship is sharing, so he holds himself back from opening up completely, and Talho also responds a bit spitefully at times and with anger and frustration. And of course, Holland isn't the first person in the world to have commitment issues, but they really are wasting time. At the very end of the series, Talho says to him, "We did so many things too late." And I think one of the things that they did too late was getting together properly and being true partners. There are several reasons why I could understand why he's so hesitant to reach that next level of commitment and intimacy and closeness with Talho. For one, his first love, Diane, who is Renton's older sister, basically ghosted him and broke his young heart. So I can understand why he would be afraid to go through that experience again. And he and Talho live very dangerous lives, so she could die and he could die too. And he did commit horrific acts, so perhaps he doesn't feel worthy of being happy in a romantic relationship after everything that he has done. There's a scene at the beginning of episode 10 that I think perfectly encapsulates how Holland feels about himself, Renton, Eureka, and Talho. This episode starts with Holland having a nightmare about his time as a soldier, showing his deep regret and guilt over his actions. He wakes up on the couch with Talho asleep in the bed. I take this to mean he's been having nightmares all night, that's why he's on the couch. And I'm assuming that they began the night in the same bed because she's naked. So right away, Holland feels pain and separates himself from Talho, who is always telling him to lean on her more. He gets up, goes to her, and begins to reach out to her, like he's finally going to cross that self-erected barrier and seek comfort. But then she murmurs Renton's name, which makes sense because she spends a lot of time with Renton. But Holland's reaction is to instantly pull away. First, Renton steals all of Eureka's attention and his place in the Nearwash, and now the woman he loves is saying his name too. I believe he does feel some shame and a little pathetic for being jealous of this kid, but he was feeling so vulnerable and he feels like Renton is taking everything important. And so he seeks distraction, turning on the radio even though Talho is still sleeping. The rest of the episode is Holland seeking escape by chasing a big wave, but Talho, who is the pilot, is like, nope, you can't run away from your feelings or reality, and takes them all to the old army base, where she and Holland fell in love, and she decided to leave with him. And she's expressing to him, remember how we were back then, remember how close, how tender our relationship was. Why do we have all of this distance between us? What happened? Why did you change? Why are you running away?
Yeah, I want to run away. As if I actually could!
I want to run away. To the other side of the planet or anywhere else. I want to forget. That day, that place, and everything else. All of it! But I can't. It all keeps chasing after me. I really just want to run away.
Even from me, Holland?
Leave me alone. I'm begging you. Can't you just help me forget about it?
Help me forget. Don't pressure me. Don't ask for more. Please, just help me forget. And even though this is a very tender and emotional moment, Holland does not close the distance between them after this. It's still several more episodes before he's truly vulnerable with Talho and they enter into a true partnership.
Talho, no matter what happens from now on, I want to protect this planet that I met you on, and you for loving me despite being so pathetic.
Idiot! You're making all my makeup run off of my face.
So even as he releases the dream of being Eureka's partner in the Nearwash, he gains the dream of a happy life with Talho, who becomes pregnant. And he finds purpose in supporting Renton and Eureka, who need someone like him. They need someone who can fight for them, whether they like it or not. And he becomes one of the most faithful believers in Renton and Eureka and their mission.
As long as I'm in reach of you, I swear that I will protect you and Eureka. I don't know what happens after that. If I survive, I live with you and the kid that you're carrying inside of you. Do I have the right to live that life? Me, the man who killed Charles and Ray.
He's also such a badass and just so gorgeous. I'm sorry. Holland is one of my first anime crushes, and I could not make an entire video without mentioning these steely blue eyes. Change is difficult. Life not working out the way you planned happens all the time, and accepting and adapting to these changes is part of living, part of growing up. You fail, get back up and try again. Fail again, try again. And even when the worst possible thing happens, when you arrived too late and made the wrong decisions, fight, push, struggle, continue on.
I don't know about you, but I'm not giving up hope! Even with a situation as bad as this, we can't just walk away!
And at the very least, you will know that you did everything you could, and at the very best, it will work out. Maybe not in the way you planned, but in a way that leads you to something unexpected and beautiful. This is what particularly stuck out to me when I watched Eureka 7 this time. Now, of course, I have to talk about Renton and Eureka. Renton has to be one of the most realistic portrayals of a 14-year-old boy from a small town that I've seen in anime. At the start of the story, he's so innocent and naive. He has so many idealistic opinions and views of the world, and as soon as he steps onto the Gecko, they are systematically obliterated. And the anime follows him through the pain and depression of this destruction, and then the hope and determination to build something much more solid and realistic. For Renton, the Gecko State are a bunch of cool dudes living life by their own rules and flying cool LFOs and lifting whenever and wherever they want. His first reality check comes when it's not just a party on board and he has to do all these chores and they haze him a bit and no one is doing any lifting. Him and Eureka bond quite quickly, and she seeks him out quite often once he's on board the ship. She's never known anyone to make her feel the way that Renton does, and so I believe she feels a lot of curiosity about that. They test him out to see if he can pilot the Nearwash with Eureka, and he's eventually able to pilot the Nearwash on his own, which is a big deal because the whole thing is Eureka needs a human partner. But then the Nearvash stops talking to Eureka and she becomes very depressed and blames Renton. So she puts distance between them, which in turn hurts Renton. I think the Nearvash was hurt or maybe jealous of Eureka's connection with Renton. I think of Eureka and the Nearvash as siblings who have always been by each other's side, and for the first time someone else is really taking Eureka's attention. And then the Nearvash itself also cares for Renton. Around the same time, Renton is betrayed by an old man that he trusted. This betrayal makes him think of his own father and how his father was never around for him when he was growing up. He's also keenly aware that Holland is keeping something from him, and things are tense with Holland in general. He also had his uncle betray him as well. Renton is just in a bad space and retreats into himself. Eureka has never felt such sadness and confusion before. They're also in an old scub coral mine, which is making her incredibly lethargic. She wants Renton to make her feel better, but she also doesn't because of the Nearvash's distance with her but not with Renton, and she's having quite a teenage girl experience. And when she tries to rally herself, Renton is too submerged in his own stuff to reciprocate. She wants him to fix it, all of it, and make her feel better. And when he doesn't, she longs for it all to stop. I think she has the underlying thought of, I don't want all of this anymore. I can't deal. She gets into the Nearvash, removes the compact drive, which connects Corallians to humans through the trapper, and Nearvash drives off. By removing the drive, it's like she rejects humanity, which is causing her so much pain, all these damn emotions. And since her whole purpose is to communicate with humans, to learn from them, perhaps she can just go back to where she came from? I don't believe she has this conscious thought, but I think that's what the Nearvash is doing. I see how much pain you're in. You took out the compact drive. Let's go home. She touches the scub coral and begins to re-merge with it, returning to the Corallian hive mind. She has a vision or a dream of a library, and she's searching for a book. When she finds it, it's blank. The idea here is that Eureka is a blank page offered to humans from the Corallians so that they might understand them. Master Norb told Holland that Eureka is the manifestation of Corallians' desire to learn about humans. The book being blank means Eureka's story isn't complete, or perhaps that she doesn't even know what her story is. Much later, Eureka and Renton will reach the control cluster themselves, and they penetrate the consciousness of the scub coral, and it takes the form of a library. Eureka finds Adrock, Renton's dad, and shows him her book, and tells him the story of her and Renton and their family. So that's very full circle. Renton finds Eureka in the scub coral, pulls her out, and Holland is raging mad at him, blaming Renton for her current state. She's dying. He refuses to let Renton close, and the poor boy continues to spiral because he doesn't know she's not human. He doesn't know what's happening. Holland takes on a high-paying, highly dangerous mission to rescue a Vodorak priest. Renton cusses him out, accusing him of not caring about Eureka. The leader does not correct him. Spoiler, Holland is taking this job because a Vodorak priest is the only one who can help Eureka and remove the scub coral. And Renton assumes the worst, assumes Holland is greedy and doesn't care about Eureka.
It serves him right. It's because his eyes went straight for the money. He cursed himself because he didn't take her to the hospital. He didn't care about Eureka!
Do you really think that he would do something just for the money? He'd never do that! Because that thing on Eureka can't be fixed by any doctor! Because it can only be fixed by a Vodorak priest! For money? That could never be the case! That idiot always takes care of Eureka more than anything else! More than any Wave, and more than me. Maybe even more than himself.
This is a lesson he learns repeatedly until it finally sinks in. People have their own motivations, their own reasons, their own lives and thoughts that are just as complex as his, and he can't just assume he knows. He forgets that Holland and the whole of Gecko State have a whole history with Eureka from long before he joined them. Why would they be happy to just let her die? Holland gets himself into a tight spot on his mission, and Renton goes to save him and the priest in the Nearwash. And Renton's frustration and anger bursts out, and he repeatedly punches into an LFO, and for the first time it really sinks in that there are people inside the LFOs. He's killing someone. He's been killing people. He didn't join a fun group of cool guys. He joined a war. And it's a no duh moment. He's angry with everyone for not explaining this to him, but they all assumed he knew. He wants someone to comfort him, but none of the adults realize he needs comfort. This is not the first LFO he's destroyed. Maybe they were watching him back then, but not now.
Just who did you think we were when you joined up with us? A bunch of carefree guys that did nothing but ride trappers? No, of course not. There's no way a bunch of ref boarders could equip themselves with weapons and LFOs. In order for us to survive, sometimes we have to kill people. That's the destiny of someone who fights against the government and society.
Then how can you do it? How can you behave normally like nothing is happening?
What do you mean, behave normally? I mean, come on. This is everyday life for us here. And you knew that all along when you joined Gecko State.
And Holland, the only witness to what happened to Renton, is just so angry and frustrated and looking for someone to blame, and blaming Renton, though it's not Renton's fault, and he knows that in the back of his head, a fact which Talho won't let him forget. When Eureka recovers, he sneaks into her room and tries to kiss her or embrace her or something, and she pulls away. They were having a pretty decent conversation before this, and I'm not sure why Renton makes this move. I think he's feeling desperate for his feelings for Eureka to be reciprocated. To know that she feels for him like how he feels for her, because he's feeling very out of place on the Gecko, and all he needs in order to stay is her acceptance. And when she pulls away, he feels rejected. But on her side of things, she's not rejecting him, she's just overwhelmed by how she feels about him. She's realized how much she cares for Renton, and she's kind of afraid of that. Love can feel like it's bursting from your body, right? And she doesn't know how to deal with it. She says to the doctor that she's afraid of Renton getting close because she's never felt this way before. And Renton, not really understanding how Eureka might feel, and he also doesn't know that she's not a human, decides to leave the Gecko. He writes them a letter and leaves with his board. Renton's whole worldview is destroyed. He's aimless and lost, literally and figuratively. He's just wandering around looking for something, anything. And at the same time, Eureka desperately wants to talk to him. Holland lies and says she's gone to get supplies. She starts going around the ship asking everyone what love is, and it's clear that it's because of Renton. She misses him desperately, and this may be the first time she's ever felt that emotion. And she's going around the ship doing the jobs that used to be his. She's wearing his clothes, she's hanging out in his room, she's bringing him meals that he won't eat. It's so sweet and heartbreaking at the same time. She misses him so much. And with Renton gone, Holland has the space to really think about how he treated the boy. And it becomes clear, at least I think so, that he regrets what he had done. He essentially drove Renton away. And he does go out to look for Renton, though he's forced to abandon the task when it becomes clear that the Gecko is being lured into a trap. And Renton has been sleeping on the streets. And one day he wakes up in the middle of a rave, where he meets a charismatic and good-looking man named Charles and his equally charismatic and good-looking wife, Ray. The couple have always longed for a child, and here one has presented itself. So they take him in. When I first watched this as a teenager, Ray and Charles left a huge impact on me despite only being in a few episodes. They make a conscious effort to live well and love each other well, eat well, take care of their home, and live the best life they possibly can, together. When I find my forever person, I hope to bring this into our life and relationship. Renton is safe, calm, and happy with Ray and Charles, and he has the time and space to unpack everything that he's gone through and decide what he wants for the future. He finally has some peace to put himself back together after receiving blow after blow to his sense of self. Witnessing such a healthy and functioning relationship shows Renton what he wants for himself, and Charles is a decent role model. Lord knows Holland dropped the ball. He started off well, trying to raise Renton, but then jealousy got in the way. And Charles, big handsome man that he is, steps in to make a real impact. Even when Renton is Renton and acts recklessly without fully understanding the situation, Charles and Ray are kind and compassionate and not angry or punishing. And you know, both Holland and Talho have slapped Renton around a little bit. But then Talho does just like to slap people in general. You better not have a meltdown in front of her because she only knows one way to snap you out of it.
I won't condemn you for the actions that you took. In fact, I believe what you did was the right thing to do as a human being. But whether or not that girl really wished for such a thing is a completely different matter. Moreover, there's no way to know, as we never spoke a single word to her.
Holland, Ray, and Charles all know each other and used to be friends. Ray and Charles consider the Gecko state to be their enemy and want to kill Eureka. And of course they want to kill Holland because Holland protects Eureka. They're even working with Dewey and the government to lure the Gecko into a trap. By this point, Ray and Charles have offered to adopt Renton, going so far as to ask him to call them Mama and Papa. It's very meaningful to Renton to feel so wanted, but he knows that he cannot just sit by while Eureka and the Gecko are in danger. He leaves with their blessing and an acknowledgement that they love each other and are now enemies. Out in the world, he walks and walks and walks till he finds himself in this forest of giant metal nails they call pile bunkers. The pile bunkers are supposed to stabilize the ground because there's so much tectonic activity, which may or may not be related to all of the scub coral mining. He passes out and is rescued by an unusual young man living in a field with his wife, who is lost to desperation disease. Now I'm going to take a moment to talk about desperation disease. In Eureka 7, there are people who suddenly become listless, just staring into compact drives. I think the people who have desperation disease are the people in the library, in the Corallian Control Cluster library, but I don't think that's confirmed anywhere in the story. Though I think it's Diane who says the people who have desperation disease are people who ask themselves the question, what is the scub coral? So perhaps when you ask that question so deeply, the scub coral answers and you get pulled into it. This young man seemingly talks to his wife, and it seems like he's holding on to false hope, but I think he's an enlightened person who can communicate with the scub coral or tap into them and the trap bar without completely giving into desperation disease. I believe they are truly having a conversation. He's also able to remove the pile bunkers in the ground by simply tapping them, and I think that's further evidence that he can tap into the scub coral and the trap bar just like Master Nord can, or something like that. In this cozy cottage in the middle of the field, Renton is able to rest, recover, and further think about life.
Nothing's difficult when you love each other. So much so that the angels are jealous. So, do you have someone? A person that you want to be with, even if the world were to come to an end?
I do.
Fast forward a bit and Renton and Eureka are reunited and share their feelings for each other. Charles and Ray's plan doesn't work, and Holland finally comes to a place of acceptance and resolution. He is not the one who's going to save the world with Eureka in the Nearvash, but he will make sure Renton and Eureka have the best possible chance at success. And he has a particular set of skills to do just that. So when Charles and Ray break into the Gecko, Holland is prepared and kills his former friend. Ray blows up his body and escapes in the confusion. And in her violent grief, she destroys their home and plans her revenge. She will not live without her love, and she will punish those who took everything from her. This episode was brilliantly made. The music that plays when the perspective shifts to Ray and shows their home is so perfect. It gave me shivers. And she tries to kill them by ramming her ship into the Gecko, all while Renton begs her not to. Holland throws himself into harm's way to protect the Gecko and is badly wounded. He has to have a blood infusion, and the only match is Renton. Talho actually doesn't want that because Renton has the same blood as Diane, his sister and Holland's first love. She eventually makes peace with this and is able to stop being so jealous of Diane and put her feelings aside. The next day, Renton shares his experience with Ray and Charles with Eureka, and he's got her sitting on the floor without a cushion or anything. He is of course upset by the loss of both Ray and Charles, and from here on out he will keep Charles's wedding ring in his pocket. He and Eureka also decide to adopt Ray and Charles' philosophies and live the best life they can together. They thoroughly clean the ship, inspiring some of the other crew to do the same, and they cook really good food. With everything they've gone through, the good and the bad, they know how they want to live. They want to create the best possible life they can, together. Talho reveals the truth of Eureka's identity in kind of a not nice way, in my opinion. Good to get the truth out there to everybody, but she just kind of shouted it in the middle of the meal. That's kind of not nice. But I see that she's just tired of lying, and she's kind of forcing Holland to share the burden of their mission, of their true mission, by telling everyone what's going on. And the whole of Gecko State, including Renton, accepts her just the way she is. Eureka and Renton decide they don't want to kill, and they don't want anyone to kill on their behalf. But Holland is like, that's just not realistic. But he has decided to just trust Renton and Eureka's instincts and let them find their own way without enforcing his own ideas onto them. I appreciate Renton's growth, that his ideas are now based on reality, on lived experience, and what he wants is not based on some rose-colored fantasy, which, as most of us learn, is part of becoming an adult, part of growing up, of living. You fall, take a moment to regroup, get back up again, learn and find a new way.
That's why I'm gonna fight. So that I can try to somehow stop this awful battle that started between humans and Corallians. I believe in my heart that with you and the Nearvash at my side, I might be able to put an end to this battle before it destroys everything. I need you to trust me, Eureka.
Renton.
Let's do something that we believe in, all right?
Sure.
Eureka is also finding her individuality. For so long she followed orders and did what she's supposed to, And for the first time, she's figuring out what she wants, doing what she wants to, grappling with her thoughts and feelings to discover how she truly feels. And poor thing worries that she's a burden because she's not how she used to be. She's not so easy anymore. Both of them really are adolescents, huh? There's even a cute little story arc where Eureka is using makeup for the first time. Gidget buys her a whole bunch of products but doesn't show her how to use them because you don't just know how to use makeup, and she kind of makes herself look like a clown. And Renton is like, oh, I love you, but you look ridiculous, and she's all sad but happy. And then Talho shows her how to do it properly, and it's all very cute and sweet, and oh, teenagers! And they are in the middle of a war for the fate of the universe and trying to find a way to save all of humankind and Corallian kind, and they're also just teenagers in love. They have their ups and downs but continue to find their way back to each other. Having it out in the open that she's not human and hasn't had a human life allows for them to understand each other much better. It's almost like open and honest communication is important in maintaining healthy relationships. And now that they've reached this new level in their relationship, the Nearwash evolves. In addition to transforming into a land vehicle, it transforms into a ship, almost like it knows they need to be able to fly for the next stage in their journey. It also changes so that Renton and Eureka are able to sit next to each other without anything between them. The Gecko state go on to pick up Master Norb, who is the most un-monk-like monk I've ever seen, and I love it. He's the one who first revealed Eureka's identity to Holland. 40 years prior, he and Sakuya, the first human-shaped Corallian, fell in love and attempted to cross the zone to find the promised land. They failed and she disappeared, but not really. She lost the physical form of her body, the human body. Her consciousness returns, perhaps to the Corallian-like hive mind, because she is shown to be in a library, which is the symbolism for the Corallian consciousness. From Sakuya and Norb's failure, the Corallians learned that a human and a Corallian can't make the journey on their own. Hence, the Nearwash, an LFO with 2 seats that are side by side. I really adore all the symbolism in Eureka 7. Everything feels so well thought through. Of course, there could be some plot holes that I just didn't notice. There are some parts that I may not have fully understood, but there are many messages that were good for me to hear.
People always meet others very suddenly. But those chance encounters change people, as do farewells. But you should not fear such suddenness.
Renton and Eureka make it through the zone, and they learn the history of the Corallians on Earth that I shared at the beginning of this video. Renton sees his sister Diane again, and his dad, and I wish him and his dad had a bigger moment, but you know, it's okay. Eureka got a moment with him, which is nice. In the final episodes of Eureka 7, they fail. Eureka and Renton and the Gecko state fail to stop Dewey from destroying the control cluster.
It was too late for me to realize it. I wasn't able to save my own brother. Everything I did was done too late.
Yes, everything was too late. Every single thing we did too late. Oh, Holland.
And they don't quite lose hope. They still try. Eureka is forced to become the new control cluster and is supposed to self-destruct to force the Corallians to wake up and destroy the world. Dewey, evil genius that he is, had a contingency plan in place. The colors that Eureka and Anemone have been wearing this entire time are programmed to force them to self-destruct once one of them became the control cluster. But Eureka resists through sheer force of will. She won't destroy the people she loves. She won't destroy her family. And it's because of this love that she doesn't entirely lose herself. And Holland, the awesome leader that he has become, pushes Renton to reach out to her just in case. Just to try. And and Renton goes to the Nearwash and begs it to help him, and it transforms once again. And Renton is able to reach Eureka inside of the... To be honest, I don't know what word to use. Inside of the control cluster? Renton doesn't want to be without Eureka. He chooses her over the world, over being human. He'd rather be here with her than anywhere else. He wants to give up his humanity in order to join her in the control cluster, in order to join the scub coral. And she feels like she can do anything as long as she's with him. And then they finally have their first kiss.
Renton. Eureka, let's become one. Because I won't let you be all by yourself.
If I'm together with you, Renton, I can do anything.
And this deep love causes the Nearwash to reach enlightenment, and it can then become the new control cluster. And through Eureka and through the Nearwash, the Corallians as a whole have learnt a lot, and half of them teleport to a new universe. The last we see of Holland, Talho and the Gecko state, they're on the ship, proud of Renton and Eureka and the sacrifice they were so willing to make. Renton and Eureka are somewhere together. I don't know why they're not with everyone else, because they did say that they'd return to the planet that they're from. My best guess is that they're on the island where the Corallian cluster mind was. And I have to say, if this whole half of them teleporting was an option this whole time, they should have done it a long time ago. But I guess they needed to go through this whole journey before they could do that. And if I want to find out what happens to the Corallians and the planet and everything, I have to watch the sequel, which I will. I just need to know what baby Novak looks like. Because even though the series ends with a flash forward of 1 year later, we don't see the Gecko state or what has become of them, but we do see the 3 children, Eureka and Renton's children, and they are now living with Renton's grandfather in Bell Forest. They don't seem to know what happened to Renton and Eureka, but their names are written on the moon. And so that's the end of Eureka 7. And now that I've made this video, I will be watching the sequel. Also, the Eureka 7 soundtrack is incredible, and I just wanted to say that. The music as a whole is very well done. There's so much I left out of this video, particularly Anemone and Dominic. I really wanted to talk about Anemone and Dominic, but the script was just too long, so I'm planning to make a separate Anemone and Dominic video. I hope that people would be interested in that. I'm also planning to make a video on Louis and his evil genius plan. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I liked making it. And that's it for me. I'm Kayla. I hope you have a good day, a good week. See you in the next one. Bye.